Today on Locked On Rockies, the pod returns with answering questions from Rockies fans, an update on where we'll be watching the Rockies, and is Nolan Jones the next superstar for the Colorado Rockies?
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the first day of February in the year 2024. I'm your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. And if your team is the Colorado Rockies, guess what? You're in the right spot, because that's what we do around here each and every day is talk Rockies baseball right here on the Locked On Podcast Network here and the Locked On Rockies podcast. You can find us free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. You can find us on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show. Let me know what's on your mind. Let me know your Rockies hot takes. Lots of people were excited in the comments last week about Todd Helton, of course, the big news for the Rockies. We now shift our focus away from the Todd Helton Hall of Fame experience and start looking ahead to the season, because baseball officially starts this month. Obviously, spring training and things still a little bit away, but pitchers and catchers going to report. Spring training right around the corner, and it's going to be Rockies baseball time before we know it. So we're going to answer a couple of questions from Rockies fans from X, Twitter there, and we are also going to talk a bit about the broadcast update, and just to give a quick 2 cents on a little social media thing that I saw there about Nolan Jones. So before we dive into everything today, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook, and make every moment more. New customers join today, and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Visit FanDuel.com/locked-on to get started. Okay, so let's dive into some questions here, because the pod's been off on a little break a bit. So I asked if there's some folks that are curious, that want to know about what's going on with the Rockies here. And Mr. Viejo says, best options available to finish rounding out the roster. And this one's a tough one. I mean, it's who do the Rockies like? I mean, because I'll admit, I kind of thought the Rockies and Joey Gallo were a pretty good match right now for this situation for the Rockies, considering you need someone in that Gallo kind of spot, right? You need someone that can actually we need someone that can come in and hit decently well. I mean, do big strikeout numbers really scare you? Yes, they do. I want to preface that. But is that anything outside of the norm for the Rockies right now? No. So if they do get a left-handed hitting outfielder that can hit at all three positions, and we know that's what the Rockies are interested in, as long as it's a serviceable vet and someone that does still have power in the swing, I'm gonna be okay with it. I'm gonna be all right with that. But I'm still curious what the Rockies really are thinking, because when you think about it, when you look at MLB's free agent list, there's still some interesting names out there that are available in terms of outfielders. I mean, I'm not necessarily always sure about the handedness of these players, but Tommy Pham, David Peralta is still available. I don't think the Rockies will go back to Jerks and Profar, and Eddie Rosario, Robbie Grossman, Corey Dickerson, Ben Gamel, AJ Pollock, Austin Meadows. None of these guys did anything big. Most of these guys are over 30, in their mid 30s, and aren't putting up the performances that you'd be interested in seeing and taking care of, especially with these players predominantly playing left field. Nolan Jones has that covered. Now, shifting over to center field here, of course, Rockies aren't going to be in on Cody Bellinger. Michael Taylor, Adam Duvall. These players are some ones that will probably end up going elsewhere. Again, I don't think the Rockies are really going to settle for Billy Hamilton, Adam Engel, Kyle Lewis, Jackie Bradley Jr. I just don't think that the Rockies are going to do anything to really help themselves out here. And then the right field situation gets kind of bleak when you're looking at it. The top right fielders available have all signed. Will Myers, Tyler Knight, and Naquin, Kevin Pillar. Did I say is it still Kevin Pillar? I feel like I'm saying it from the old Rockies, not Rockies, the old Red Sox player, and Cole Calhoun as well. I mean, it's kind of dicey when you look at some of the these big name free agents and such. But there was an interesting guy released by the Angels, Trey Cabbage, and he was DFA'd, and it's not pretty, but he's someone that in the minor leagues has been. Oh, I forgot. Cabbage got sent to the. Oh, wow, I missed this. So never mind. I missed this trade yesterday. The Rockies not going to be able to go after Cabbage. Some people on X were saying that Cabbage could be interesting. So there you go. I mean, I missed that trade from yesterday. So the pool gets even smaller. And really, I think when you're looking for why that I keep going back to Gallo is it kind of fits what the Rockies were looking for. You could probably slot him in. He'll be fine in the outfield. Defense isn't going to be great, but you're kind of expecting that already. But he's someone that still has that home run potential, gets the benefit of hitting at Coors Field. So to be totally honest, I am not 100% certain on who's going to fill the role for the Rockies, because in reality, it's going to be a player that I don't want to see necessarily playing a ton for the Rockies. I mean, right field's interesting, but depth is always good. But I kind of want to see Sean Bouchard fight for that right field spot. I want to see how, all the rest of the young guys and I want to see Michael Toglia come into camp this spring and show off his skills in right field. I think the Rockies can look to their depth on internally and they'll be okay, especially when you're looking at the factors of what truly is this year going to be all about. And again, come June, come July, I'm going to want to see what the young guys are doing. I'm going to want to see what the Rockies have cooking for with these guys. I want to see adjustments that these guys are making, because that's going to really influence your decisions and what you're going to do. Especially as the trade deadline does get closer, we're going to be in an interesting spot here with trades and who's going to be sticking around. And then next year, of course, we're looking at the post Charlie Blackmon world. And in case you missed it, by the way, a little bit of a note that came out from Charlie Blackmon. Apparently he was approached by the team at the trade deadline last year, said, "Hey, what do you want to do?" And he said he wanted to stay. And I mean, that's your leader, guy. That's your leader right there, man. That's why Charlie Blackmon, one, is on the team, it got re-signed, and two, why you enjoy Charlie Blackmon on the team still, that he knows his role, he understands his role, and he understands where the Rockies are at, and he wants to do everything he can to make them the best team possible. So shout outs to my guy Chuck. But just that question's a tough one. I think the roster honestly is pretty well set up, but the Rockies will probably sign some veteran depth outfield piece that might not move the needle, because my focus, especially going into the spring, when it comes to the outfielders especially, is who's looking good in right field to earn that spot to be the right fielder for the Rockies. And I think that player is on the roster, not in free agency. So, okay, let's get another question from the Rockies fans. Let's answer. We'll do two birds with one stone. We'll talk about the update with the broadcast team and where we'll be watching the Rockies, and we also will have a question about prospects making the opening day roster this year and the next Rockies Hall of Famer. So let's dive into all of that and more coming up next on today's episode of Locked on Rockies. Today's episode of Locked on Rockies is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook has got you covered here when it comes to the action for Super Bowl Sunday. If you're like me, Super Bowl Sunday is all about scoring the best seat on the couch, grabbing your favorite football snacks, and placing some super bets. Hey, football and the Super Bowl, it's been a blast to just be able to enjoy and watch the game with your buddies. Of course, I do a lot of the cooking for the Super Bowl, so I'll be cooking up some wings, and hopefully the day before or right before, I'll be feeling good about the bets that I am going for. I'm leaning towards I don't want to say it. I'm leaning towards the Chiefs because why bet against Patrick Mahomes? He hasn't given us any reason to bet against him in this playoffs, as much as I begrudgingly admit that. FanDuel has so many ways for you to end the season with a W or 2 or 3. Not only can you bet on who will win Super Bowl 58, but FanDuel has bets for which players will score a touchdown, how many points will be scored, and so much more. New customers join today and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. This is the Locked on Rockies podcast for free and streaming on your favorite streaming service, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked on Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. If your team is the Colorado Rockies, guess what? You're in the right spot because that's what we do around here each and every day is talk Rockies baseball on your favorite streaming services and on the Locked on Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show. All you got to do is just hit that little subscribe button, find us on your favorite streaming services, leave a little like, leave a little review, all that good stuff. Really, really helps the show, and I really, really appreciate it. Hey, if you need more sports content, Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. All right, folks, we are answering Rockies fans' questions. We are rechecking back in after our little offseason break and gearing up for the Rockies here as spring training is right around the corner. Jeff Terry asks, updates on TV rights. Read something about altitude. Is it going to be MLB TV or is there just no news? Currently, right now, according to Purple Row, at least this was from FanFest and at least a follow-up there, there's no home for the Rockies broadcast yet. It's not on altitude. We don't, not yet. That is, it's not through MLB. That's where I'm leaning towards it being. But Purple Row and others have confirmed that all 162 games are going to be televised, and they also expect the broadcast crew to be back. So expect the familiar faces, expect the same team. We are still waiting to find out where that will be, where that where the Rockies home will be. I still think it's probably going to make the most sense for it to be on MLB. I think it'll be easier that way. I think the Rockies fit into that kind of those teams looking for homes. Other teams have gotten their partnerships. Amazon continues to loom in the background. I don't know what they're, you can't deny the Amazon effect. You can't deny Amazon looming and liking to get in on local sports or live sports. I don't think it's necessarily the Rockies got enough of the swing to be there, but just as that continues to work itself out. So still waiting to find out where we will be watching the Rockies, but we will be watching the Rockies and we will have the familiar faces to do so. So let's see our next one here. Our next question here is from Steven Cross. Which Rockies prospect do you think has a chance to make the opening day roster this year? I think I don't think any of the top prospects are going to start up there necessarily. I mean, you're not going to bring up Amador if you're not really. There's no sense in blocking him with Rogers if you're really interested in Rogers continuing to be the starting second baseman for your team. And so when I'm thinking prospects, I'm thinking outfield. I'm thinking of Bouchard. I'm thinking, hey, let's see what Zach Veen looks like. I don't think he's necessarily going to be exactly MLB ready, but let's see what Zach Veen looks like. Let's see how he can handle it. I mean, the thing about right field this year is it really it's a position of opportunity for a lot of people, for a lot of players this year. A lot of young Rockies players and prospects are going to need to utilize right fields. Another interesting one as well for the Rockies, and Purple Row actually did just write about this, is that Riley Pint might be ready to be in a spot in this bullpen. Someone that's did get to pitch a little bit in the major leagues last year, got one appearance. So give him a shot. Let him give him an opportunity to throw in this bullpen. 26 years old, first round pick of the 2016 amateur draft. So I mean, this is a guy that the Rockies definitely are counting on. Definitely someone that the Rockies are hoping that they can make a nice impact for the Rockies here. And let's just read a little bit about Purple Rose comments here on Riley Pint here from our friend Skylar Timmons here. One of the more intriguing storylines for the Colorado Rockies was the promotion of Riley Pint to the big league roster, where he was finally able to make his long-awaited debut in a Rockies uniform. Unfortunately for Pint, his debut lasted just for one inning, just one out in a mixed outing, but Skylar's still in the camp that he can be a helpful contributor in the Rockies bullpen. So Riley Pint has also been at Driveline. He's going there. And the Rockies bullpen is slowly filling up with guys capable of regularly throwing balls in the mid to high 90s. Power arms appear to be a trait the Rockies are valuing in the bullpen, which follows with the trend in baseball. High octane and wipeout secondary pitches are helpful tools for pitchers looking to get outs in high leverage situation. Velocity itself has never been much of a problem for Pint. In high school, he managed to hit 102 miles per hour, and his fastball still featured a potentially to regularly hit 100 miles per hour. That velocity remained in 2023 in AAA, but the aspect of his pitching that presented a problem is one that has followed him throughout his professional career: control. That's the problem. The Rockies can't afford walks. The Rockies can't afford undisciplined pitching. So when you're looking at a tough spot there, you have to be able to count on Pint. You have to be able to count on the bullpen. If you're going to go high octane velocity, they got to hit their spots, because if you're throwing the ball all over the place and you're giving players, if you're giving teams extra opportunities at Coors Field, it ain't going to work for you. It ain't going to help you out, and you ain't going to get to where you want to be. But me, when I'm looking at the prospects, I really want to see what Sean Bouchard looks like again. I mean, because we were intrigued by him. We were curious about what he was doing. We liked the impact and the stuff that we were seeing from Sean Bouchard. And now with, last year being a wash, how does he factor into this? How does he change things up? And how much, and really to go back to right field, how much right field does Charlie Blackmon play? Because I still think he's going to play more than we think. All right. Let's see here. One more question. Or did I get all of our questions from Rockies fans? Oh, here we go. No, Historic Baseball Guy says possibilities on future Rockies Hall of Famers. None for a while. I mean, truly. I mean, it's there was an interesting post by Drew Kreisman about how good Troy Tulowitzki was in a short amount of time. Tulo's not going to get. Tulo has incredible numbers, and if there was another new wave of Baseball Hall of Fame voting, thinking of like really factoring in injuries and really factoring in those type of situations, Tulo would have a strong case, but Tulo's short career is going to be the reason. But you look at his baseball reference, you look at him compared to, I think it was Jimmy Rollins that Drew compared him to. It's a reminder that if Tulo stayed healthy, Tulo would be one of the greatest shortstops of all time. I'm not saying that just as a homer. Look at those numbers in the short amount of time and give him another 1,000 appearances at the dish, give him another 1,000, attempts in the field that he would have gotten if he was still healthy. I mean, who knows really what could have happened. I mean, he is someone that truly was special, but outside of him, the Rockies haven't produced any elite level talent. And I guess the question would open the door for, could it be Nolan Jones? But we've only seen him for one season. I think the Rockies traded away their next likely Hall of Fame candidate. And let's be honest, Nolan Arenado, if he does make it to the Hall of Fame, I don't see him going in wearing a Rockies hat. I don't see that happening after the way the relationship ended. I think there's a reason for Arenado to go in as a Rocky, especially if the Cardinals continue to be mediocre to bad. But I think you need to savor the Todd Helton election for as long as possible, because I will say I don't think most Rockies are going to make it off the first ballot. I don't really think that. We saw it with Matt Holliday. I mean, Matt Holliday is a great in Rockies history, and he didn't get the call. He didn't even stay on the ballot. So I don't know. I think the answer to that question is to be determined. I was talking, I think, I can't remember if it was the Purple Row guys or who. Charlie will make the ballot, but he's not going to be a Hall of Famer. It's a tough one. So enjoy the Todd Helton election for as long as possible. All right, folks, let's take a quick read. We teased it a little bit. There was a post on Twitter. MLB.com says Nolan Jones has superstar potential. Let's talk about that coming up in segment number 3. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about some of the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED highlights, and more, whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions do apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast for free and streaming on your favorite streaming service, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here in the Locked On Podcast Network, the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, and on your favorite streaming services around the globe. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. Really, really do appreciate that. Okay, so I saw a post on X there, and it says that Nolan Jones is one of 3 NL players that's got that superstar potential here. And let's see. Let me get the post back up here. I know I should have had it, but let's see. Harris the second, De La Cruz, and Jones. Those are the National League players who could make the leap to superstardom in 2024. And I don't want to get overhyped. I don't want to get nervous. I don't want to go too overboard here. But the potential is there. The StatCast, the advanced metrics are incredible. He is easily, when you look at the Rockies team and when you look at these advanced numbers, he is easily the Rockies player in the best position here, especially when you're looking at things that are really, really exciting. He is really good at batting. He is above average when it comes to base running. He is above average with a cannon when it comes to defense. And that defense saves his range so much. He's got good sprint speed. He's obviously, just like every Rockies player, has to work on the strikeouts, but it is just red across the board. he is someone that is truly special. Now, Elly De La Cruz is, in my opinion, someone that could potentially be the face of baseball, and someone that has potential. When you make your debut and you steal every base and then steal home, you're a superstar. And Nolan Jones, like I said, Nolan Jones has 30-30 potential. He's a 30-30 guy. And if the Rockies get 30-30 out of him while cutting down runners and being someone that is going to be a great asset on defense, Nolan Jones will be a superstar. But it's going to take time. It's going to take consistency, and it's going to take him being able to make the adjustments that the league is making against him through the season last year, through the offseason, and going into now. So I don't know if I'm not really trying to compare Nolan Jones to those other guys because there's a lot of value there. I just think when you're looking at potential, when you are kind of like the Hall of Fame question, when you're looking and you want to know who has the power to be the next great Rocky, right now Nolan Jones is showing it that he can. We just have to tap the brakes a little bit, and we have to sit here and remind ourselves that there's a lot of time and there's a lot of there's a lot of what ifs that can happen. But if he can stay healthy, if he can contribute, and especially get off to a hot start this season, as we've talked multiple times about the schedule for the Rockies this year, there's no doubt in my mind that Nolan Jones can be someone that can break into the national focus, the national zone. If you have a guy that's stealing bases and hitting home runs at Coors Field, that's going to be interesting for players or for teams and people watching. It's going to be interesting to watch Nolan Jones become the familiar Rockies face, the guy that when people are talking about the Rockies, Nolan Jones is going to be at the top of that focus. It's going to be really interesting to see the Rockies factor him into the lineup and where they're going to put him as well. I don't want to overhype and get too overexcited on Nolan Jones, but he is a guy that we're going to sit there and be watching and really be saying, that guy's got the stuff. That guy's got special stuff and special potential if he can keep putting it all together and keep continuing to build off of this impressive start here. So, but if he's up there stealing bases and doing things like Elly De La Cruz does, I'm not as familiar with the Braves player there, but he's at the end of the day, he's going to make a huge impact for the Colorado Rockies. Folks, that is going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. We are free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where your subscription, your likes, your comments, all that stuff really, really helps the show. Really, really do appreciate people tuning in and joining us here. It's been the off season starting to dwindle down, and Rockies baseball will be back before we know it. But in the meantime, folks, why don't you go make Locked On MLB your second listen of the day? If you need more Colorado sports coverage, Locked On Broncos, Locked On Avalanche, Locked On Nuggets, Locked On Buffs, all available for you, free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. Until next time, I'm Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.